I'll be sneaking out to drink and step inside. Time for you to step into the Beltline. Rainy days will go away, the stars still shine. Time for you to step into the Beltline. This is Beltline, if I'm playing, it's going your way. Time for you to step into the Beltline. Long as that we're going out, the stage was always open. Time for you to step into the Beltline. Time for you to step into the Beltline. Time for you to step into Beltline to Broadway.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beltline to Broadway Live. It's been a minute since I've done one of these, so I'm really excited to get back into the groove and chat with Pete Comperatore and some of the students at Green Hope High School about their production of Anonymous and their upcoming appearance at SETC, which is a big regional theater festival. So if you have any questions or comments for the students as we're talking, pop them into the chat and we will get to them. But welcome, Pete, Bianca, and Dan.
Well, thanks for having us.
Hi.
I'm also going to put up in the corner by Pete's head links to support the students program and purchase tickets to this amazing production. As we're talking about it, I know everybody's going to want to go. So I want to go around and have you all introduce yourselves. So Pete, I'm going to start with you. I think a lot of folks in the theater community already know you, but tell me who you are and why you're here with these adorable students.
So my name is Pete Comperatore. I am the theater teacher at Green Hope High School. I've been there for 4 years. And we are here because we our Theater 4 class, our advanced theater class, every year we take a production to the North Carolina Theater Conference, their high school play festival, and we get a chance to show some of our work and then get feedback. And so this year we were lucky enough not only to move on to the state competition, but win the state competition. Now we're headed off to SETC. It's pretty amazing.
It's amazing. And SETC is so much fun. Dan, could you introduce yourself and tell me what year you're in?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Dan. I'm a senior at Green Hope High School, and I play Anon in Anonymous.
And we're going to talk about the show in a second. And Bianca?
I'm Bianca. I'm a senior at Green Hope High School, and I play Nemasani.
Welcome. I'm excited to talk about this play. So the play is called Anonymous. It is an adaptation of Homer's The Odyssey, and it's told through the lens of Anon, who is a refugee. Tell me, Pete, a little bit about what the play is about and why you chose this particular piece.
Well, as you mentioned, it's a retelling of the Odyssey. It's written by Japanese American playwright Naomi Iizuka, and so it's a retelling of the Odyssey. So really, it takes that hero's journey and that epic journey of the Odyssey, and it brings it into the lap of, instead of fighting for fame and glory as kind of Odysseus does in the original. Anon, who is the Odysseus-like character, is fighting for just his basic right to be a human and be recognized and live and survive. That's sort of the basis of it. So we kind of see his journey from being separated from his mother, and then his journey back and his journey of discovery of who he is, and where he comes from, because there's a several year lapse between him getting separated from his mother in the beginning and when they meet up again. And one of the major reasons why I chose this play is, I kind of saw in my community of students that we have just what's one of the beautiful things about Green Hope High School is it's a very, very multicultural. It's a very multicultural school. When I got hired there, that's one of the first things the admin said to me was like, we're an international school. There's tons of languages and kids from all over the world to, come to school here. And seeing that reflected in my program, I wanted to find a piece that really spoke to that. As we do these things called honors projects every year, and so in which students have to present plays, and I give them a list of plays to choose from. And so I was really trying to find good work from Indian and Asian playwrights, and I kind of noticed how difficult that was at times, just to find that voice. So it was really trying to find a piece that highlighted those voices that like my students could identify with.
I love that. And I know Bianca, Dan, you did a lot of research, as did your classmates about this. I'm sorry, my dad wants to be part of the conversation, so we're just going to plow through. But I want you both to talk about some of the research you did in preparing for this production and performance, and Dan and Bianca, how you both connect to this immigrant story.
Yeah, so I can go first. So a lot of what Anand talks about is being from this like really tropical, this paradise, and then suddenly being thrust into civil war. And that really relates. So I'm Chinese, first of all. So that relates to some certain like Muslim ethnic minorities in China, for example. So like the Uyghurs, but the character I really based it off of, or the real group I really based off of, was the Rohingya minority in Myanmar. So they're also a Muslim minority, and they're being essentially ousted by the government. And the like biggest refugee camps in the world are filled with these people. And just being truthful to what's happening in real life and just the real struggle that refugees have to go through was really important to me, and being authentic and just knowing like they really do sail across boats, just like Anand does. They really have their homes bombed. They really just have their fathers shot in front of them, and this happens. It was really sad, but also really important for me to read about.
For me, I grew up hearing stories from my grandparents, and one story that I remember in particular was my grandfather talking about how World War II was fought, right, like really close to his community, and at a really young age, he had to go out and he had to learn how to speak English, and he had to get resources and money, and he really had to fight for everything that they had. And that was one of the biggest things that I based my character off of, because I play Anand's mother. So not only having that special bond with her son that she loses, but also having to continually fight for her rights, and having a chance to talk, even though she's been through not only war, but losing her son was something I really connected to. And something that was really cool about the way that we did this play was we did it through moment work. So we started off with taking a bunch of different technical elements and different pieces of the text, and we took different parts of the play, and we found moments that really stood out to us, and kind of having that foundation and forming the meaning of home really gave us something to fight for, and defined our urgency and purpose throughout the entire play.
I love that. As politics are unfolding in our world, it strikes me that theater and social activism and how those two things connect, that's not anything new. And oftentimes we use, or artists use, theater to inspire some social change hearts and minds. For all of you, do you feel like performing a production like this in this moment is a form of activism? Are you making a statement with this show?
I think it's so strange because we just talked about because last night or yesterday after school was the first time we really ran the show in costume in a dress rehearsal for the first time since we put it to bed in November. And boy, have things changed since November, since the last time we've done it. And so, like we really talked about how, the show was incredibly relevant then when we did it, and in a few short months, how much more relevant it is becoming on a daily basis. That like we're walking into a different political time almost in 3 months since we last put this in front of an audience. So I don't know that's was the full intention was to make a statement, but sometimes we right show, right time or wrong time, or whatever times we're in right now.
Well, and I think when you have a good script and a good story, it's timeless. So it can really you can insert it into any time and it has some relevance, even if the relevance is just looking back on our history. But I love that you're tackling this in this moment. And I know that as you've chosen shows in the past for your students, you have not shied away from these big issues in our world, and I love that. I do want to ask you, Pete, because DEI policies are really under attack right now, as are the arts. As a teacher, are you feeling any pressure to choose plays and stories that fit into a certain narrative or box right now?
No, I mean it. To me, my number one responsibility, I think, is going to be to my students, and everything else will be what it is, right? And so, like, if I want to enact social change, like that's sort of the way to do it, is to sort of hopefully inspire my little corner of the world to be the same way. So that's
What
kind of how I look at it.
what was the response or some of the conversations that occurred when you performed this the first time at school?
I don't know if Dan, Bianca, if we want to talk about, because we had a few talkbacks after our first couple performances. You guys want to chat a little bit about some of the things that came up then?
Yeah, so when we first performed it at school, we had the opportunity to share with the audience some of our inspirations and some of the preparation work we put into the show, and what the research we had done. And I remember a lot of people kind of, coming up to us afterwards and saying, wow, I never really knew that so many people went through this, because a lot of people have come in and told us that, yeah, like we know what a refugee is. We know that, yeah, they must be going through struggles, but we didn't know the extent of like the hopelessness and the voicelessness that they do experience, because there's about 44 million refugees across the world, and each of them experience their own struggles, whether it being exploitation or, having to, walk 1,000 miles, or experiencing starvation and things like that. So just having the opportunity to share those untold stories and people resonating with it and their eyes really, opening up from it was really inspiring and really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Bianca. Just a lot of people were kind of shocked at both the severity of the stories and also just how diverse the stories are. Because Anon, it follows the story of Anon, but it's really through the chorus of refugees, in the background. It really shows that Anon's story is just one of millions, and no story is the same. Anon doesn't represent all refugees, but Anon is a voice for one refugee that that hopefully helps amplify others. And during these talkbacks, like after the show, we just sat down and we were having conversations with the audience members. And I think the most salient example I used was this girl. She was very young, like I don't remember exactly, but probably like 10, 11. And she one day during the war just picked up all her stuff and walked in a straight line, like didn't know where she was going, literally just walked in a straight line until she got to another country. And I don't know, to me, growing up here in America, like that's crazy. And I think a lot of audience members were shocked by that as well.
Mm. Um, Dan, I'm going to stick with you for a second. You've performed the play at regional and at the state theater festival, and you were awarded an outstanding achievement in acting award at both of those events. What did you learn from those experiences that you're now able to bring to SETC?
I think I got a lot of really great feedback from the judges there. So I think one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I'll bring with me is, like, in terms of acting moments, is to not anticipate things, and also to just really take my time with these moments, because there's a lot of really big emotional moments in the show, and I think a lot of their feedback just made me consider how I want to portray them, if I want to like really contain emotion, and on a more macro scale too, just the impact that the show can have on people, because I never could have dreamed that the show was as welcomed by audiences as it was. And I think the two theater conferences really just gave me confidence that this is the right path, and it's a great story to tell.
Bianca, what did you learn from those other experiences that you can take into this experience, this festival?
Yeah. So this show has always had like a really special place in my heart because I don't think I've ever felt like my story or like such untold stories were so represented. Um, and at regionals and at states, I think like one of our biggest focuses was, you know, like taking the beautiful connection that we had formed with each other and with the script, and you know, taking all of our preparation and living in the moment throughout, really embracing every single moment that came with the entire show. And I hope that I can continue to embrace my impulse and continue to make like small and or even like bigger discoveries about my character. You know, keep exploring how she feels with the pain and how she keeps fighting to have her voice heard.
Mm. Bianca, what is your background? What's your family's heritage?
I'm Indian. I'm from India.
So in playing the matriarch in this piece, were you inspired by anybody in your family or any of the conversations that you had with folks in your family about this piece?
Um, I was I was inspired by so I play Anand's mother, right? So I was definitely inspired by my mom. She's always been sh- I I've never really seen her at like she's always been super strong to me. She's always, you know, I've never seen her super vulnerable. She's always protected me and my entire family. And that was something that I it was super important for me to be able to take that with me because she's always been one of my biggest inspirations. No matter what she's gone through, she's always, you know, put us first, and kind of getting to explore that beautiful bond. You know, losing someone's child is probably one of the hardest things that anyone can go through. So it was definitely it was very difficult to get into that mindset and kind of imagine the gravity of those circumstances. But my mom has always been a huge inspiration for me, and she definitely guided that path for me.
I love that. Dan, you talked a little bit earlier about how your heritage, your background has informed how you've approached this piece. Did you base your portrayal of this character on anybody in your family, anybody that you know?
So in terms of character, I didn't personally base myself off anyone, because, well, one, I'm not a refugee, you know, I was born in America, but I think the biggest influence I took from my own family was my relationship to my mother, so who Bianca plays, and just, you know, I have a really strong relationship with my mom. She essentially raised me here, and I really just tried to bring the love I have for my mom into this role, and every time I see her, like when I see my mom for the first time, reuniting after however many years they've been apart, I really just try to think of my own mom and and how I would feel in that situation.
As a mom, that makes me really, I think oftentimes we don't think our children are paying attention or listening to us. And so hearing you talk about your moms in this way just makes me feel like there's hope that my children actually heard some of the things I tried to teach them. um, Pete, you're doing an encore performance of the show on February 28th to get ready for your trip to SETC. How can the public come and see the show and support the students and your program?
Sure. So we are performing this Friday at 7 p.m. at Green Hope High School, and you can get tickets if you scan that wonderful QR code up there. You can get tickets there. You can get it at the door. You can get them on our website, greenhopetheater.org. And all the proceeds are going to help fund our trip to SETC and help get our 34 students plus chaperones there for the week. So yeah. And it's going to be so we're going to perform the show, and then we've got performances from our chorus and individual acts from different of our arts programs, and an art show in the lobby. So in addition to our show, you get to learn all about Green Hope, our Green Hope Arts program, and all the cool stuff what we're doing over there.
I want to ask Dan and Bianca. I feel like, among other things, our education system is also under attack, which is kind of crazy to me. But and in turn, I think arts and education, arts and schools are going to be under attack. As they already are. There are so many schools that don't have these amazing arts programs. So, Dan and Bianca, how has being involved in arts and theater impacted you both personally? And why is arts education so important?
I can go first. My high school experience has been, it would not have been the same without theater. I've been taking theater since I was a freshman. I've been in the fall plays, the musicals and everything. And I think that I was very, very like shy and not confident when I first came into high school. And I found that like being able to explore myself and finding my voice through art and through theater just gave me it helped me learn more about myself. It helped me learn more about my community and how I can become involved in it. And I think Mr. C has been one of my biggest mentors. He's taught me so much. He's taught me so much about, about immersing myself into the beauty of art and theater and this world that we're creating and putting for an audience, and trusting myself, trusting my cast, my theater family, and everything. So it's given me knowledge about myself. It's given me a family, and it's given me so many experiences that I don't think I could have dreamed of having.
Dan?
I think the arts have been one of the most impactful things I've done. So I think why it's so important. So, well, one, it teaches literacy. It introduces you to a bunch of new stories. And on like an emotional level, I think personally, it's made me so much more empathetic. I say this all the time, but I think without theater and without having to put myself in the shoes of another person playing characters, I think I would be a lot less kind than I am. I really do think that the arts makes you kinder. And I attribute that not only to how like theater itself is structured and acting, but also just to the arts community, to the teachers, to all my friends. I think it's all really beneficial in that way. And even if you don't believe in all that, I think like the one argument I could have for the arts is that it teaches you like to be confident no matter what. You know, I'm a math person, science person. You know, I'm going to college for engineering, but I think the arts has been so crucial in my high school education for not only teaching me to be empathetic, to helping me with my social skills, but also with like public speaking. And if anything, that's one of the most important skills you can have, right? For any job is to understand others, to be empathetic, and to be confident in front of others. So I think if anything, the arts is just it's necessary.
Dan, I love what you said about empathy and making you kinder. There's actually a new book out called Why Theater Education Matters. I'm looking across the room because I don't want to get up and go get it, but it is on my bookshelf. It's by Dr. Thalia Goldstein, who works out of George Mason, and she studied theater classes, and it does actually make people kinder and more empathetic and more compassionate. That's what her findings have shown. So I love that you said that. And a lot of it has to do with the rehearsal process and what happens in the theater classroom versus what's happening on the stage when you're doing that final performance. Pete, have you found that the creative process, that the collaborative process, that the rehearsal process really makes an impact on these kids?
Yeah, and that's actually how I start day one, theater one every year. Is I have before I get into the syllabus or anything, the first thing that I go over is like, what can theater teach you? Like, what does doing theater do for you, regardless of whatever you're going to do? Because in that class, I have kids that they will never walk into another theater again. So it's important to try and hook them in on day one, and those are exactly the things that I talk about. That it teaches you empathy because you're in other people's stories. You're not so locked into your own story, right? And that is a lot of the difficulty that we have in this world is people can't see outside their own box, right? And by putting yourself in other people's, like literally, as Atticus Finch used to say, right? Putting on someone else's shoes and walking around in them for a while, like doing that literally. It really does allow you to see the world from other people's points of view. So that's how I start day one of teaching my kids theater, my students theater is, these are all the things they can do for you if you let it.
I love that. Pete, I think oftentimes when we hear about kids, schools going to these competitions or conferences, it's really, I think so often we just kind of write it off to an award thing or an accolade. What do you hope the students are going to take away from the experience of developing this play and going to this festival in Baltimore?
I mean, for us, because of Bianca mentioned this in the beginning, that we really created this collaboratively. So doing it through moment work, and so how I structured it was, we had a script, and then I said, all right, this is the direction I want to take it. This is my concept. This is the overarching bubble, and then putting it in their hands to sort of play around with it for a while, and then me directing off of their moments. Really allowed the students to really have full ownership of this piece. Like they're looking up there and scenes that they're not in. You go, oh wait, that was the germ of my moment 6 months ago is now up there in a show. So I think that the fact that they have really become a community in this piece, and have built it together, that they all feel such connection and ownership to the play, and then connection and ownership to the story that they're telling as well.
Well, I hope everyone will scan in these QR codes. One is to donate to the program so that they can get all of these students to Baltimore for the week. And then the other is to purchase tickets and support the students on Friday night. I hope everyone will support the show and your journey to SETC. I'll be watching. I can't wait to see what happens. If you have joined us late, you can, as soon as this is over, this will live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can watch it from the beginning, because Bianca and Dan, I just love everything you've had to say about theater and art and this production and what it means to you. I think, Pete, the future is bright. I have hope. I have hope. So
Slowly
thank
but
you.
surely.
Thank you. And again, support local artists, support local theater, and support these students. So thank you for hanging out with me on a
Thanks for having us.
Wednesday night, and break legs on Friday and at
Thank you.
SETC.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching, everyone. You can keep the conversation going or join our online community at beltlinetobroadway.org. We have what I'm calling the Pod Squad. You can join the Pod Squad and our group. It's kind of like a private Facebook group just for Triangle Theater at this point. And so I'd love to see you all over there to keep these conversations going. And I'll see you all at the theater. Thanks, Bianca, Dan, and Pete.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.